Welcome to Free Media. I'm Amber Duke.
And I'm Robby Soave. Well, Israelis are celebrating the return of the remaining hostages, and they are thanking President Donald Trump for his role in bringing about peace in Gaza. Even CNN had to admit that they're seeing more than a few MAGA hats in Tel Aviv these days. Take a look.
And, of course, endless applause for President Trump. Endless applause for President Trump.
And when I was there, I even saw people wearing Make America Great Again hats in that crowd over at Hostage Square.
Trump was also, of course, thrilled about the release of the hostages and called for a permanent peace that will transform the region. Watch this.
20 courageous hostages are returning to the glorious embrace of their families, and it is glorious. 28 more precious loved ones are coming home at last to rest in this sacred soil for all of time. And after so many years of unceasing war and endless danger, today the skies are calm, the guns are silent, the sirens are still, and the sun rises on a holy land that is finally at peace, a land and a region that will live, God willing, in peace for all eternity.
So I am not at all a Trump sycophant. There are numerous aspects of the administration's domestic policies that I criticize. So I think it's objective fairly when I say that this is great. This is Trump at his best. I am proud of the president when he talks about how important peace is to him, getting peace in a region of the world that has not seen it, getting hostages released. It is an unambiguous good, regardless of what follows from here, to get these people back to their homes in Israel. But maybe he really wants something even bigger than that, which is a more permanent peace. And it sounds like there's a lot of support for that in the region, with these negotiations having involved Qatar and Egypt, Israel's government, what is going to be the government of Gaza. Obviously, lots still to decide, but I like when my leader is like, get him the Nobel Peace Prize. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize. Good. That's a good incentive.
Yeah.
To hear the president actually wanting to be in the running for that, trying to negotiate peace in all these different regions, including here, I think that's really good.
This is a historic moment, no doubt.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a lot that can go wrong from this point.
Sure.
I mean, Hamas apparently reneged on returning some of the remains of some of the hostages, to which Israel says, well, we're going to continue to refuse to provide certain amounts of aid to the region, which is part of the ongoing negotiation process. This is a tiered peace process, right? Hamas
and the whole place is leveled, and it's bad.
Right. Hamas has to meet certain goals before Israel agrees to pull back on certain functions of its military, or provide aid in the opposite direction.
There's a lot of mutual distrust.
Yes, which is understandable, and I think it's why we were able to get to this point, because all of the ceasefire negotiations that took place under the previous administration were structured in the opposite direction, where Israel had to agree to stop its military attack on Gaza in exchange for Hamas then releasing the hostages or then doing something else. And Israel, I think rightfully so, is like, well, you can't trust Hamas to follow through on their end of the bargain, so all we're doing is giving them time to recuperate, to get more ammunition, to get more supplies, and then attack us even harder in return. Hamas needs to give up something first. And that's the way Trump structured this deal, which obviously worked because they had to uphold their end of the bargain. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would say, like, well, Israel's not super trustworthy either. Like, sure, fine, but they are also a U.S. ally, so we have more control over their behavior after Hamas upholds their end of the deal.
Well, and that was one of my criticisms of the Biden administration, that they did not exercise enough discretion over the choices Israel was making in this context, in the Iranian context. They're the client state. We give them the money. We should have more power over it. And it did seem, while obviously I understand they were grappling with a terrorist group that attacked them and took so many of their people hostage, it was starting to seem like they were just not recognizing any limits on what they could do to get those people back, including destroying literally every building, killing so many thousands of people. We don't even need to relitigate the horrors, but because it's a good thing, it's being brought to a pause, hopefully to an end. Lots still to work out, but it's a win for the administration. Mainstream media coverage has been kind of begrudging, as we note there, because I think it's been begrudging to positive, frankly, because there is, I think, a sense that the Biden administration just totally screwed this up, and that Kamala Harris wouldn't have handled it any differently. Maybe she would have done better than Biden because Biden was so checked out and so unable to just command on the world stage. But this seems like a situation that arose particularly from Trump's strengths, his unconventional kind of approach when it comes to foreign policy, and his desire to, or willingness to, break bread with people who have not traditionally been our allies to kind of shake up the consensus on foreign policy. I think this is an area where that was most needed, the fresh approach, because whatever was going on before was not working. And so good, he deserves credit for it. I think he's getting some credit for it. We can debate whether he's getting the right amount. And obviously he is not the only force here. This was the Qataris, the Egyptians, the relevant participants, our European partners as well to some degree. I'm glad to see people on the same page. If it's the same page, the page is peace, rather than where we have to do regime change and where we have to do all sorts of other things, right?
Right, no, totally. I mean, I was so annoyed to see that Barack Obama's statement did not mention Trump at all. I mean, he's just so narcissistic and annoying. He's always, whenever there's some world event, he always has to insert himself and make it about him, and he's unwilling to give anybody else any credit. And even Biden's statement was like, well, we did all of this hard work, like laying all the groundwork for this, and Trump just got it over the finish line, as if like he had handed Trump like a 90% complete test, and he just had to.
Not the case.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Not true at all.
And I think it's important to point out too that this is a similar way to, in terms of the structure of the deal, pretty similar to the way Trump was trying to negotiate the Afghanistan withdrawal, which is that the Taliban had to meet, again, certain metrics before a certain number of troops came home. Biden comes in, goes Leroy Jenkins, and is like, nope, we're just going to pull them all out at once and hit the September 11th deadline, and like whatever happens else, be damned.
And nobody was happy with how that went.
It was a disaster. And then
it needed
to
happen.
No,
it just happened
and then he
badly.
tried to blame Trump's negotiations, and it's like, well, you just ignored all of the negotiations. Like he had metrics set, he had goals that they had to meet, and if they didn't, he would pause the withdrawal, which he did several times throughout that process.
Right.
And so Biden first blew up the Afghanistan withdrawal, and then does the exact same type of just backwards negotiation for the Israel Hamas ceasefire, and then still is like, oh well, I did it all for Trump.
Right.
It's just so absurd.
On the Nobel Peace Prize conversation, there was the person who won this year is a perfectly deserving winner in my view. Peace in Venezuela, the end of socialist tyranny in Venezuela is a worthy goal that is. The existence of the Maduro regime is contrary to peace. I saw a couple like Trumpy people being like, going after her, and that was stupid. And also, this is also just too fresh. Like they had probably already decided who the winner was.
Yeah, it was like 2 days prior to the prize being awarded.
Year.
Yeah.
By the standard, and I won't even say I have a strong view on this, but by the standards under which Barack Obama received a peace prize, Donald Trump should receive 10 peace prizes. They should rename it the Trump Prize. Again, not in a vacuum, but just I was reminding myself, like I went, to look back. When did he got into the first year?
Yeah.
After nothing.
He did nothing. He did nothing.
Even like fans of Obama at the time were, I think, a little embarrassed. Like, is he going to get the Heisman Trophy?
And then he just like drone striked kids all over.
Yeah. Shoo, boom. Yeah.
Well,
ask Muammar Gaddafi whether he thinks he deserves the Peace Prize. Oh wait, we can't.
That was such a joke. And the woman who did get it actually did shout out Trump and say that she thought that he deserved it and deserved a lot of credit for negotiating the return of the hostages.
Yeah.
So I think, all's well that ends well. I actually saw some conservatives arguing that they shouldn't want Trump to get the Peace Prize because it's so corrupt and doesn't mean anything anymore. But I still think it'd be nice.
Some years they pick a fine choice. Some years it's a vibes-based prize for Barack Obama. All right, we'll have more free media right after this.